watching? How can you say that in case you forgot who we were, who we are, and what we did? Or rather, how dare you come back?
Are you directing that at me? How dare I come back?
Tonight's topic, John is heart set on, and it's abortion. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Did John knock someone up and wants public opinion on abortions? I'm still trying to.
Wait, is it abortion or reproductive rights? What are we talking about?
Not let me change the topic from abortion. So tonight,
reproductive rights.
And I are happy to be back to entertain you like we have tried to do in the past. And the topic is abortion.
Reproductive rights.
John, it's good to see you again.
It's not so great to see you. And I am back. I think we had about a 6-month hiatus. We really needed to recalibrate. And we needed to also have a decent amount of time apart from each other to just kind of, refresh. It's like a nice vacation. I think that's the way I would term that. So yes, we are back, and we hope to continue to be back. We took a long hiatus for a variety of different reasons, but all that's behind us now, and we're here. And the topic we're going to talk about tonight, as Jenny had said, she's calling it abortion. Today in the United States, they refer to it as reproductive rights. But either way, that's what we're here to discuss this evening.
People in the country probably know it as abortion. I like to keep it real for those of us who aren't going with the laws that are changing, like we're changing our clothes.
I'm very happy that you said it. Keep it real, yeah. And can I clarify on keeping it real, what that really means?
Since I said keeping it real, I think that I should qualify because I said it. What if keeping it real for me means something different to you?
Well, I'm going to elaborate on what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted. Now I remember why we needed a hiatus. Within 5 seconds, again, I feel like we need another break. Unbelievable. Okay, so in the United States, there's obviously a raging debate that's going on now and fighting over what many call reproductive rights in the United States. And with the recent overturning of the Roe versus Wade case, not so much it was overturned, but it was sent back to the states. No, it didn't prevent people from getting abortions. It simply sent it back to the states and says, okay, each state will decide on their own whether abortion should be okay or not. And this has sent many people into a wild and raging tizzy in this country.
Those people, because the majority of the people passing the laws on these situations don't even own a bloody uterus, never had a period, doesn't know what it's like to carry a child. I mean, seriously, there's so many things happening now in this country that I'm just shaking my head going, where are we living?
So I'm really happy you said that. You know why? Because what you're essentially saying is that men have no right to determine whether women should be able to have abortions or not. Well, that's kind of what you just said.
No, what I said is the people deciding if a woman should have an abortion or not has never had a period, has never been pregnant. So
those are men.
Wait,
are those not men?
Starting hot.
No. There's a reason why I'm pushing you on this. You're right. If you never had a period and you were never a woman, you never had. No. There's a reason why, a really important reason why I'm getting at. It's one of those lines that's a real zinger. I'll tell you why. Because essentially what you're saying is that those that don't have the ability to carry a child or have those reproductive organs in their body really don't have a right to enforce on others how they can handle their body. And those typically are men. So let me just go with that for a second. It's not typically those men, those actually are men. But Roe versus Wade was decided 60 years ago by men.
Right.
So using your logic, if men don't have the right to decide for women what to do with their bodies, then how were the men able to decide Roe versus Wade and that abortion is permissible? That was all men. So we should overturn that because that was decided by men and they don't have a right to do that, right?
Well,
and please answer. No, answer that. Okay.
If you just shut up.
It's a hard question to answer.
Very easy to answer.
No, it's not.
The reason it's easy to answer is the men made a law that made sense for women. But now that, because a woman should decide if she wants to have an abortion or not.
Oh, so if the man decides what you view as correct, then the man has a right to decide. But if they determine something that you don't agree with, then the man does not have a right to decide.
Put words in my mouth.
Well, that's what you said.
You
So,
put words in
So
my
be
mouth.
clearer in what you're saying.
I'm going to be very clear in what I'm saying. I am saying that how would you feel if women decide that every man should have his balls cut off when he meets 50, because a lot of men seem to develop prostate cancer at that time of their life, because we don't want to have to take care of our husbands when he has cancer. We vote to have them cut off.
So you can take care of your husband when he has all kinds of cancers, but just not prostate cancer.
No, any cancer.
Oh, so then why don't we cut off men's chests, men's
Okay.
arms, men's penises, any place on the body that could get cancer? Let's just get rid of it so that you don't have to be burdened taking care of a man who has cancer.
John, but of course you never hear anything I say. Let me backtrack.
Sure.
And let me clarify what I'm saying. If people are making laws that make sense for everyone, whether it's a man or a woman, you don't get pushed back because it makes sense. The law makes
To you.
sense.
To you.
To women.
Not to all women. Many women are pro-life. In fact, the pro-life movement is led by women.
First of all, nobody's saying there are reasons why some women want to have abortions. I do agree some abortions don't make sense, as in, if you are irresponsible and you know that you can get pregnant and you do nothing to prevent it and you're pregnant, to just like decide you're going to get rid of the child because you don't want to be pregnant, I would have an issue with that. But if someone rapes a woman and she becomes pregnant, if I were that woman, anybody can grow to love a child. But to me, I would have PTSD around that. And every time I'm speaking about me, I am not going to be so presumptuous to speak for other women. Me personally, I would love that child because I'm not capable of hating anyone, especially a child that I've carried. But it would always be a reminder of a horrible experience that I had. And I know this because I've had friends who have this happen to them.
Okay, so here's the problem that we run into when we're having any sort of debate on this topic. We start, I don't mean we as in me and you, I mean people, when this topic is debated. And you could go onto YouTube, find plenty of videos about abortion debates. The problem is that it starts to go off in all types of different directions, develop all these tentacles. What we try to do, people that argue more on the pro-life side, is we try to isolate it down to each item and deal with each item and then move on to the next one. What you just said, there's so much to unpack because you went into 3, 4, 5 different things.
I'm giving you
but we have to keep the conversation isolated to one thing at a time and deal with it, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So let me first. Okay. Because that's the only way to properly handle the debate that we're having. So let's
see the criteria.
I just did. Let's back up for a quick second. I think we could probably both agree that, and you and I never discussed abortion before. We never had that conversation. I have no idea where you stand on. You don't know where I stand on. We never had that conversation. We gave a little bit of a clue as to the direction we may go, but we never had a conversation about it. In fact, right before we got on the air, I asked you and you said you'll find out. So I don't even know. So it's not, we may not even be on opposing sides here. But here's the thing with arguments, and I've mentioned this on some of our previous podcasts, which are when you're presenting an argument and you want that argument to be persuasive, the argument has to be based on facts and consistent logic. Meaning, if there's inconsistency in what you're presenting, it's very easy for your entire dialogue to just go into the garbage and mean absolutely nothing. It has to make sense. It has to be consistent, and there can't be ways to punch holes in it. Otherwise, it doesn't hold. It doesn't pass muster. So let's go back to what I just said before. Give me a minute. What I said before was that you had made a statement essentially saying, and I'm paraphrasing, which was that people that don't carry babies, which are men, do not have the right to decide what women do with their bodies. Okay, let's just hold that thought. And my answer to that was Roe versus Wade was decided by men. So if we want to follow through on your logic, what that means is we have to undo Roe versus Wade and start again and have the entire debate framed by women and leave the men completely out of it. I'm not saying that's a bad or wrong thing to do. I'm just being consistent, which means Roe versus Wade has to be in the garbage right now. So let's just go from there. The pro-life
Can
movement,
I go back to what you're saying?
just let me finish this one thought. The pro-life movement, for the most part, is led by women. So it's not a man-woman issue. It's a perspective on what abortion is, what it really is, which we'll talk more about, and then not about whether a man or a woman really has the right to decide. It's about what is it and what's the right and the wrong. Because there is a right and wrong. Everybody has their own perspective and their side, but just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean your way is right. Go ahead.
Boy, you've grown up. The 6 months have done you well.
I got taller? You mean growing up I got taller?
No, but you've learned how to have a conversation without bulldozing the other
Well,
opinion.
you scolded me and told me that I'm not allowed to do that, so I'm behaving.
Good, at least you follow rules.
On the website of conversationswithjennylyn.com, I have to follow the rules because it's not conversations with Jon and Jennylyn.com. It's just you.
Well, this is our thing, it's not just you. But the point I'm making is, when it comes to a pregnancy, a woman can't get pregnant by herself. So I think
In vitro.
she still needs a sperm, she still
Doesn't need
needs.
the man, just it's by herself.
So where does she pick sperm off trees now?
No, I guess a sperm bank, I don't know. But
Well,
she's doing it
let me
without a
ask you,
partner.
does that make any logical sense to you? If a person is going to go through in vitro fertilization and actually accomplish the end goal of being pregnant, why in heaven's name would she want an abortion? Just
Oh, well,
saying.
I'll give you an answer to
Just
that.
saying.
No, the answer to that is, let's say a few months into the pregnancy, she goes for a sonogram or she goes for an amnio and determines that the baby has some sort of genetic disorder and the baby will die by the time they're 2 months old, cystic fibrosis, whatever it is, and she wants to not be in the situation where she has to take care of a sick child who's going to die anyway, and she'd like to just terminate that so that it doesn't happen. So just because you get in vitro doesn't mean you're getting a normal, healthy baby.
Well, okay, that's probably one of the odd, very rare situations where someone in
not rare.
vitro. Well, I know quite a few people who've done in vitro fertilization, and they didn't care what kind of baby they wanted the baby, but every situation is different.
Correct.
Because every situation involves different people. But the point that I was trying to make earlier, I believe that whenever we're making rules that are supposed to govern a particular gender, you should have equal amounts of the sex represented. Like you should have 3 males, 3 females. On every single board deciding every single part of life that involves males and females. I don't think women should make laws to govern men in certain parts of a man's body and man's activities. And similarly, we shouldn't have all men making decisions. And like you say, Roe versus Wade was made over 50 years ago, or approximately 50 years
60.
ago, 60, whatever the correct number is, by all men, right? But I think in the end, the law was one that women were comfortable with. So we went along with it. If a woman wanted to have an abortion for whatever reason, she went and had the abortion.
But you're framing it as all women being in agreement that Roe versus Wade was decided correctly.
You don't say that. Do not put words in my mouth. Ask me.
But so you would agree that a percentage of women, maybe half or maybe less than half, I don't know, are adamantly opposed to abortion. I mean,
here's how I feel about all of it in a nutshell. You should be able to decide what you want to do with your body. No one should be telling us what to do with our bodies. We are living in a world right now where everything is okay.
no.
Don't let me make my point.
Not.
I let you make your points. Well, the government isn't doing anything about it. People are coming across our borders. There seem to be no rules. They're just coming in, making themselves at home. I don't see anybody in the government doing anything to stop it. We are having athletic activities where men who've become women are fighting women, and the world is okay with this. So what
It's
I'm
not okay.
saying, well, we just saw it happen. What are you
No,
talking
but the
about?
world is not okay with it.
Well, the people who are making the rules are, because if they weren't, they would have done something about it. And now, whenever it has to do with certain things, and I have a good idea why men don't want women to have abortions. A very good idea. Because when you know, you know. And I know. When you know, you know. You're not gonna get me killed. But we're living in a world right now where we have always, I've grown up in this, I've grown up most of my adult life in the United States and was always so proud of the fact that we had freedom of speech here. Well, a lot of people who speak disappear or they commit suicide.
You're going
or they
off on a
stop.
tangent.
Stop. Let me get back to my point. I am making a point, and the point I'm making is I don't even know why we're having all this debate about abortions, because when we look around in this country, there's so many things that were supposed to be our democratic rights that have somehow they evaporated because we no longer have them. So why are they driving so hard and fast on abortion?
Okay, so
That's what I want to
Jenny,
know.
just because there's chaos.
Go back to one more thing, because I wasn't finished. The other night, the Democrats had a rally and there was a truck where people were having abortions. I mean, I
That was a
don't,
Democratic convention.
look, and here's another thing. What's a DNC?
The Democratic
DNC.
National Committee.
Yeah, but you know what? There's
The
a
DNC is also part of the
Okay.
procedure when you have a
there's a
miscarriage.
DNC that they perform on women.
When they have a miscarriage.
DNC, Democratic. You got my drift.
Well, let me
I just believe there's a big agenda, a hidden agenda that's behind pushing so hard for this.
that is already going into another area for another podcast. Again, that's the thing. This topic tends to take on other tentacles and go into other things. We're trying to keep it isolated for now down to what it is that we're talking about. Here's the other point, what you said before about women having a right to decide what to do with their bodies. The topic of abortion has nothing to do with the woman's body. It's the baby that you're talking about,
Well,
not the woman and her body.
The baby's
woman-
not floating on a street.
Okay, so here
The baby's flying outside on a tree. It's in the woman's body, so I don't get
correct,
that argument.
but do you know what the definition of the word fetus means?
Yes, a fetus is an embryo. It's
No.
a newly formed egg and sperm, or it's better known as
That's incorrect.
zygote.
No, that's incorrect. You could Google it. The definition of a fetus is an unborn human baby. You could Google that.
Well, listen,
You could Google it.
listen.
Ask Siri. So let me finish my thought.
Can I correct that?
No, but that's.
Listen, I
wanna hear it?
I went to,
You want to hear it from Siri right now?
Siri says a lot of things.
Oh,
Should we ask Siri?
But it's on
if you
Google.
should go to
The definition of a fetus is an
Siri,
unborn
Siri.
human baby. It's gonna just take you right to Kamala Harris. It's gonna do it. I know the routine already. Anyway, so wait. No, let me finish my thought. Let me finish my thought. If the definition of a fetus is an unborn human baby, then what we're talking about is whatever is in that woman's body. Now, some people will call it a clump of cells. We're all clumps of cells. That's what a human being is. Some people will call it a fetus. We've determined the fetus is an unborn human baby. Everything that is alive is part of a species. No, let me finish. No.
Okay.
Everything that is alive is part of a species. So that unborn human baby, otherwise known as a fetus, inside the woman's body is part of the human species. Because otherwise, what species would that fetus or baby be? If it's not human, it has to be something else. It can't be inanimate because it will grow, it will develop, it nourishes itself with food. So it's got to be part, it's not an animal, it's not part of the animal species, it's part of the human species. So now we're talking about an unborn human baby that's part of the human species that will grow and mature and develop into a full human being with consciousness, with feeling, with everything. So what we're talking about with abortion is really taking that unborn human baby and destroying it. Now, people don't like to use the term murdering it, but killing it. I mean, if I go into a subway and I shoot and kill two people, they don't say that I aborted two people today in the subway by shooting them and killing them. I didn't abort them, I murdered them. So when you take the life of a human species, someone from the human species, that actually is considered murder.
Okay, Jonathan, first of all, I'd like to correct you on a few things.
Sure.
Not everything that Google and Siri tell you is correct. Okay, so I do agree that a fetus is an unborn child in a woman's body, but
Unborn what?
before child.
Which makes them human, yes.
But what you don't understand is it at a certain stage that it becomes a fetus. But at the very inception, it's known as a zygote. And I don't need to ask Siri because I studied medicine. And I know what I'm saying and what I'm talking
I'm not arguing with you, I'm listening.
Okay, so past a certain point, then it becomes like, I think after 6 weeks or something. In the very beginning, it's known as a zygote, and then it evolves as it's growing.
But does that zygote have a genetic code?
It does,
Yes.
but what I'm saying is at the very, 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 very beginning, I am not saying that I am for abortions, but I personally believe you cannot make hard and fast rules for certain things because there's always that unique situation that your rule does not apply to. But when you make a hard and fast rule and you put a nail in it, when those situations occur, how do you deal with them? People should have a choice. If they want to make rules that say, past this time, I agree, past a certain time, past a certain
Point.
stage of the development of that zygote into the fetus, then yes, you should never.
So,
But what I'm saying is, if it's one of those unique situations where it would really make sense for that mother to not to terminate that pregnancy, like they've done the spinal bifida test, or one of these tests that shows this child will not enjoy a good quality of life because they're going to be coming into the world with certain defects. And I know there are times when they've made these calls and they've been wrong. But a lot of times they've made these calls and they were right. And so those parents should be able to decide if they're going to be having one of those children, they should have the option to terminate at the very inception if it's diagnosed while it's still a zygote.
they can't be diagnosed when it's a zygote. It's too early to diagnose these things. And secondly, you're making a judgment.
Jonathan,
You're making a judgment that a person that has certain deformities or diseases does not enjoy anything about their life. Now,
I am not saying that.
but that is what you said.
No, that is not what I said. Oh, and if that's what I said, if that is what you heard me say, please allow me the privilege of correcting what I said and saying what I meant to say.
Go ahead.
I am saying if a child, because they've given people the option to terminate these pregnancies if they want to,
Mhm.
and I do not think that should be revoked. If you have enough evidence to show this child will not enjoy a good quality of life, then those parents should have the right to terminate that pregnancy if they so choose.
So let's work with the same logic again, because we said that the arguments tend to have validity when the logic is consistent and makes sense. So let's take that same logic and let's transpose that onto a parent that has a child that has a terrible accident. They lose both their arms, they lose both their legs, they're paraplegic. Life might, from my perspective, looking at that, would be a horrible thing for that child. Does the parent, once the child has no quality of life because they're paraplegic, able to now just decide to murder the child? No, of course
I
not.
will not call it murder, but if the doctor says this child is never going to recover,
The paraplegic is never going to recover and they're never going to regrow their limbs and they'll never have a good quality of life. So should the parent at that stage have the right to terminate that child or kill that child?
I don't know.
Of course
It's a
not.
personal thing.
No, it's not a personal thing. You can't murder another human being because you don't think they have good quality of life. That's absurd. So the answer is no.
But
So
that's not
the
a fair fair.
It is a fair comparison because the benchmark of deciding whether somebody should be killed or not killed is not whether they're inside of here or outside of here.
Let me ask you a
No,
question.
no, let me finish. Because that same baby that is in there, let's say in month number 7 or 8 or 9, is the same thing that comes out
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I understand when it comes. It's the same thing that comes out when It's the same thing that comes out when it's born. The only difference is it's inside versus outside. So let's just take this argument and really boil it down to what it should be. We would have to agree that the concept of abortion is taking the life of another human being. If we agree on that, then you start to say, okay, I do grant that that is the case and that a human being does not have the right to take the life of another human being. However, there might be some extenuating circumstances where it might be necessary. Now, if you talk about rape and incest, for example, rape and incest make up for less than 5% of abortions. And since Roe versus Wade, there's been 60 million abortions, over 1 million abortions a year. And it's actually about 2% or less are rape and incest cases. So if we agree on the larger framework, then you could start to make the carve-outs, the rape and incest carve-out, the very early on, that first 3 weeks where you could take the pill and terminate pregnancy. You could start to debate that, but you have to call it what it is. Abortion is taking the life of another human from the human species. And the problem with the anti-abort people is that the pro-abort people is that they will not even concede that fact. Their belief is if it's in here and it hasn't come out, we can kill it. Sure. You didn't set the timer, by the way.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
For a government that is so concerned about people's pregnancies and if they should terminate or not terminate, and I'm not saying I'm pro-abortion, then if we're so concerned about human life, why then are we taking people's grown children and sending them to fight unnecessary wars? If we care so much about life, why? These are already grown up young adults.
Because all these million aborted babies can be sent off to war if we let them be born.
No, that's not why you want them to be born.
Sure.
And I hope you find out why one day. When you know, you know. Anyway, if we are so concerned about human life and people's children, then don't send them to the stupid wars we're fighting that are not necessary. And this really makes me angry, and I have so much passion around it. The other thing is, if we're so concerned about life, how come so many schools are having children coming in with guns and killing each other? If we so care, let's take that energy that they're putting into the controlling abortion and let's do something about the guns.
It's not one or the other. It's not one or the other.
I think I know why they're pushing so hard to block abortion.
I'm not pushing to block.
No, not you. I know why. I know why.
Go ahead.
But I like my jugular, so I'm not going to say it here. But to me, if you care so much about people's children or whether they should live or die, then something needs to be done. I'm not saying ban guns, but there has to be a way to prevent these school shootings. I mean, seriously. Somehow a part of me feels like, and I'm going to keep the rest of that to myself. And also think of the number of young Americans that have been sent to useless wars that are now dead. To me, it's just hypocrisy. It infuriates me. I try to get John to change his topic, and he was insistent. And I'm starting to wonder, who did John get pregnant outside of John's family?
Nobody that I know of.
Okay. I don't know why you were so determined to do this topic, but that's my feeling.
Wait, if I got somebody pregnant outside of my marriage, let's say, wouldn't I be pro-abortion?
That's what I think. You're trying to get me to convince you otherwise.
No, let me explain to you from a personal perspective. See, what I have realized is that
trying to justify it.
No. What I have realized, see,
that was meant to be funny.
Yeah, it wasn't though. See, the thing is, an intelligent human being has the ability to take in information around them and formulate opinions, and based on new information, potentially change their opinions. So I, just personally speaking for me, I never really saw an issue with abortion when I was younger. I really didn't care. My thinking was, well, you know what? If somebody doesn't want to have a baby and it could be terminated, why bring a baby into the world that is not going to be raised by parents that really want it? What is the
Because
outcome?
you said that to me before.
Yeah, I'm
And
telling
I
you.
sit there thinking, wait, this guy is so full of hypocrisy.
No.
I'm gonna throw up.
I'm explaining. I really felt like maybe it is better for that baby not to be born, because what kind of life are they going to have if the parents don't want it? And they're not going to raise it properly, and it could just result in bad things. So if we can avoid that whole scenario, get rid of the baby, and that's the end of it. That is for many years the way I thought. And what I started listening to is a lot of different things on YouTube, a lot of different videos about abortion, the abortion debate. And what I realized is that the pro-abortion movement really does not have any decent argument to justify their positions that really makes logic and sense and admits to the fact that this is not murder. When you look at the pro-life movement, all their arguments are completely consistent, and if you carry that consistency throughout, it destroys every possible part of the pro-abortion movement. Now, and I'm going to give you like a lot of it's gaslighting. You know, when you look at the when we mentioned it in the beginning, I was being sarcastic, how they're referring to abortion as reproductive rights. Now, here's my question to you. Reproductive rights have never been restricted in this country. You can have as many babies as you want in this country. No one ever gets in the way of your reproductive rights. China did restrict reproductive rights. They said you could only have.
But you know what?
They said you could only have one child. Yeah, I know, for population control. I get that. But they restricted reproductive rights. What we're talking about in this country here is not reproductive rights. It's termination rights. Because when you go for an abortion, what's being reproduced? Nothing. There's the same outcome at every abortion. The baby's dead. So it's not reproductive rights that we're actually talking about. It's termination rights. But they call it reproductive rights because who's going to argue that a woman shouldn't have reproductive rights? Of course they should. A woman, let me finish. A woman should be allowed to have reproductive rights and reproduce as much as she wants, and nobody's going to argue that. But that's not what this argument is about. Reproductive rights is not abortion. Abortion is termination rights, and they should call it termination rights. But they don't.
Listen to me. A lot of what this country has come to now is amusing to me. Like, I don't even pay attention to any of these rules anymore because I am yet to see the memo that says, Jennylyn Gleave, you have been a content producer for 14 years, and this memo is to inform you that you no longer have freedom of speech. So, you need to study the curriculum of what you are allowed to say and not to say and follow the protocol, or you will suffer the consequences of sharing your views and opinions.
But that has nothing to do with abortion.
It does. It does.
No, it doesn't.
The amount of energy that is being put on this is what makes me say, when you know, because we have so many other very critical issues in this country that needs that energy, but it's not going there. Why is it going on?
Well, I'll give you an answer. A lot of the other than the things that I've mentioned, which if you go back and listen to what I said and you put the pieces together, you'll see the logic of what I'm saying. Besides that, there's another aspect, which is, and you're going to argue with me. I know the argument already, which is the religious aspect to it. Now, I'm not saying you have to be religious. You do whatever you want. I don't
I am not religious.
You don't have to be. It doesn't matter.
God is
If you're not religious, it doesn't negate religion. It just is you saying, or anybody that says I'm not religious, I don't want any part of that. But it doesn't change the religion, it doesn't alter the religion. It just means that you don't want to follow religion. Just like if I say, I'm not obeying any traffic laws. I'm going through every stop sign, I'm going through every red light, and I'm getting to, but I'm just saying, that doesn't negate the traffic laws just because I say I'm not obeying them. So when it comes to religion, I believe abortion is against almost every major religion. Christianity, Judaism, Islam. There has to be something to it. If the one thing all the religions could agree on is
If
abortion
you-
is not permissible.
If
Let
you-
me finish.
If you knew what I know, you would throw up.
Okay, we'll get to what you know.
No, I
So-
will not say there because it's not safe. I'm not ready to die
Okay,
yet.
so then don't. So when you're ready to die, we'll do a podcast, a pre-death podcast.
I'm not putting-
Well, once I know I could be killed, I don't want to know. I'm not going there. Anyway, but my point is that if it's a, I sometimes, yes. Other times I wish my mother aborted me, but she didn't.
I wish she
And this is what the outcome is. I am the best argument for abortion. Okay? Do you hear? I said it. There you go. What kind of quality life is this? I'm sitting and doing a podcast with a person I barely like, cooped up in this studio, and this is a life?
boiling hot.
Call my mother. Tell her she should have aborted. Unbelievable. That's why I'm angry at her. But anyway, no, but again, it's against every major religion. So now you're taking probably 3 billion people when you're talking about Jews and Christians and Muslims and saying half, and maybe, I don't know about Hinduism, but I'm assuming it's against there too.
Can I ask you a question?
But let me just finish the thought. The thought is, might there be something to the pro-life movement if it's backed by every major religion in the world? Maybe that does give it a little bit of credibility that maybe it actually is the murder of another human being. Maybe. Now, again, I'm saying my position has evolved from thinking it's all fine and who cares to, wait a second, I think it really is a murder. Maybe this is really not good. And then you get into all the other things about, the rape and incest of this and that, and I get all that. I'm not stupid. I understand it. I hear it. But we have to agree on the basic framework that the murder of another person of the human species who is defenseless is probably not right.
I am not being honest on this podcast. I can't be, because I know stuff that if I say, I know the video will get pulled down and I'll have to watch over my shoulders. And I think I'm already being watched.
Can I make a suggestion? How about this for a law? In the case of rape and incest, instead of murdering the innocent baby, why not murder the rapist or the person committing the incest? Why take it out on the innocent baby that didn't do anything? Take the person that caused it and get rid of them. New law. The rapist and the incester, if that's a word, will be in the event that the woman wants to terminate a pregnancy due to rape or incest, the rapist or the incester, it will be executed and the baby will get to live.
Do you know what we just did?
What?
Oh, we just made history.
In what regard?
We agreed on something. I always said there should be a law that they should castrate all rapists. Just cut it off,
But no. Why castrate? We don't castrate a baby in the womb. We kill it with abortion. So let's kill the person, not castrate. Let's kill them.
Kill anybody.
You know why it would be a good idea? I'll tell you why it's a good idea. Because other than it being a deterrent, right? Because if the death penalty has been proven to be a deterrent to crime. It may not be a huge deterrent, but it is a deterrent. So by imposing essentially capital punishment on the raper or the incest, you are going to deter some of that from happening in the first place. I mean, that's just natural human nature. Would you agree with that?
Yes. 2 things.
Shut it off. We're done. We're done. Let's go out on a high note.
It's gonna blow
Let's go out on a high note.
Wait a minute. Jonathan and Jennylyn are agreeing.
I have a lot more to say. What time are we at here? Where do you
5
go?
minutes.
We have 5 minutes left? So get to 30 minutes? Is that what you're saying?
No, I did 40.
40. I said, let's cut it here. Let's cut it here. I want to come back on the next segment and I want to go and do another direction on this.
Think 30, 40 minutes of this is enough.
No, it's not. We're coming back.
You're trying to get me in trouble.
No, we're coming back. We're coming back.
Town, and I'm really not making a lot of
No,
contributions.
we're coming back.
Because
We're coming back.
if I have to say what I have to say, it will get us in trouble.
Coming back.
No.
Yes.
This is it.
No, then I need a few more minutes.
Then you could do a monologue and I'll sit beside you and watch.
Okay, well, one of the other arguments that people...
But let's just keep going.
Okay, one of the other arguments that the pro-abort movement talks about is why should the mother be forced to carry the baby, right? That's especially the rape and incest. That's one of the things. Why should I be I don't want this baby. Why should I be forced to carry it? So
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever been raped?
I wish by a group of women. I do dream about that periodically. Absolutely.
You're disgusting.
Not by men, by a group of women.
John,
No, I would encourage that type of behavior.
okay, so most of the people that I've watched and listened to who've been raped, why would you want a reminder? Is he not PTSD?
Okay,
Listen,
so wait, no, let's go with that logic. If I was raped in this studio, does that mean when the rape is done, in order to eliminate all memory of that, we burn down the studio? The studio has to be gone. I drove down this block to get to the studio, destroy that block. I looked at that house as I was on the way to the studio, destroy that house, burn it down, burn down this whole neighborhood, burn down the car I was in, burn down everything and destroy everything, because anything I look at is going to remind me of that. So that's not a valid argument.
no, your parallels are just bullshit.
No, they're not.
Yes,
No.
they are.
Then
Okay.
Columbine, the school where the school shooting happened, they threw down the building. I think it was Columbine, one of them. They threw down the building because the building
He doesn't shut
the
up.
building caused the children who were killed, the parents of the children and the schoolmates, PTSD, because that's where it all occurred. So they bulldozed the building and built a new school.
Can I ask you a question? That's a simple request, 10 minutes. I'm asking. 10
I have to listen to you for 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes, I'm saying, can I ask you a question?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been traumatized?
Yes.
You have.
Of course.
And do you want it to be constantly reminded of that trauma?
I am every time I look at my finger. Because every time I look at them, it reminds me of that trauma.
Fair. Why do you bring these parallels that actually are?
You asked me if I ever had trauma. It was
Yes.
extremely
Yes,
traumatizing.
but the reason I asked you that is because I wanted to know if, when you have a reminder of that trauma, if you have any kind of a reaction.
I just told you, yes.
So.
I'm sweating, and I'm not joking. I'm really sweating when I think about it now.
Okay, can I make the point I wanted to make when I asked you?
Sure. It's hot. Where's the makeup person? Makeup person, where are you? Where's the powder?
So the reason I'm asking this, rape is a different thing. Rape has to do with sex in a brutal, horrible way where someone isn't consenting. So it's a little bit different. I've had traumas like that. I've been cut on my knee and I had to get how many stitches, and my mom had to take me to the hospital. And every time I look at the scar, it all comes back. I get it. But it's a different type of trauma. And some people might argue trauma is trauma.
Yeah, we agreed though, we're gonna kill the rapist to get rid of that trauma, so you never have to see the rapist
So
again.
why don't they start with that law first?
I'm in favor of that.
Well, then you need to go meet with these
But
people.
you know what the problem
But
is?
can I say
I'll tell you why
something?
that's
Some of those people that are making those laws,
yeah.
do you think they didn't have abortions?
I don't know. I have no idea. I assume that they probably didn't. A lot of people are probably hypocritical about it. I'm sure people are hypocritical about it. But here's the problem.
COVID is a good example.
Here's the
Do you
problem.
know how we go to restaurants? How many government in London?
Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom, they all went.
So my point is the people making these rules. Okay.
The people making traffic rules are breaking those rules also. We know human nature is that we tend to do what we want to do and violate rules all the time.
Everyone watching this segment, I just want you to know that I am not being honest. I'm not lying, but there's a lot of things I know that I cannot say. And it just brings me back to the fact that we are no longer allowed freedom of speech. And when a government is monitoring so intensely and heavily what people are saying, says a lot. And that's all I have to say on that.
I want to finish one other thought, okay? Because
Okay.
you cut me off. I'll now wrap it up. We talked about, about what you just said. Should the mother be forced to carry the baby if it was rape, it was instances, and this is the other thing, whatever it is, or carry any baby that they don't want, right? It doesn't have to be rape and incest. It just be, I accidentally got pregnant. I didn't mean to get pregnant, and now I don't want to be stuck with this, and this is my life now. I don't want that. Well, when we make certain decisions in our lives, there are going to be consequences. Sexual behavior, we all know at certain ages, is going to potentially cause pregnancy. If we're taking that chance, we know what the ramification of that can be. I can get pregnant. As parents, well, not me. I'm male. I'm a man. Men and males can't get pregnant. Oh my God, maybe not. But here's the thing. As parents, once we have that baby, we're forced to clothe that child. We're forced to feed that child. We're forced to take care of that child because that's what a parent is. And my belief, my evolved belief, is that once you become pregnant, you have become a parent. Whether that baby has been born or not, it's a human of the human species inside of you that will develop into a full-blown human. That means you are now a parent from the minute that baby is in your stomach. Okay. On that note, I'm done.
No, we're not done. On that note, I have to add, if our government is forcing women with pregnancies to bring the children into the world, regardless, no exceptions, nothing, just no abortions, then government help them to raise those children. Make life affordable for American people.
It's called entitlement programs. They do that.
No, they don't. I know many parents now
The SNAP program.
who cannot get medical care for their children, who cannot afford to feed their children, who cannot afford to even give their children education. I have a friend whose son is in school, and
education is free in America.
It's not.
It is.
One of his books is
up till college.
$100. $400 for one book. So I'm sorry, but if you're going to force people to bring children into the world, make life affordable.
But the government's not forcing you to bring it into the world. You're bringing that child into the world with a conscious sexual decision that you made.
People should stop having sex.
I didn't say that. But they have to accept the consequences of that sexual activity.
How can you say that? Because if we don't do this, it will never stop. Because John and I never see anything the same.
We agreed murderers and rapists should be executed.
That's why we do this show, so you can hear two extremely different views. And a lot of what was discussed here tonight are just our opinions. And we thank you that you are continuing to support us while we sit here, and it's very difficult for me not to argue John. And we will see you soon with another segment.
Thank you for joining us. We're happy to be back, and we will be back again.
Next time we'll pick something less controversial. Bye!